The story of the United States begins long before its independence. European explorers arrived in the Americas, forever changing the course of history. In 1565, the Spanish established St. Augustine in Florida, the first permanent European settlement in what is now the United States. This marked the beginning of European influence on the continent. Just a few decades later, in 1607, English settlers founded Jamestown, Virginia. This colony, while facing hardship, became a symbol of British ambition in the New World. It established a foothold for further English expansion. The arrival of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock in 1620 added another layer to the emerging American identity. These early colonies, driven by different motivations, laid the foundation for a new nation. They faced challenges from harsh winters to conflicts with Native Americans, yet they persevered, driven by the promise of religious freedom and economic opportunity. These settlements, scattered along the Atlantic coast, were the seeds of a nation yet to be born. They were a melting pot of cultures, religions, and dreams, poised to embark on a journey that would shape the course of history. As the colonies grew, so did their desire for self-governance. The British government, however, tightened its control, imposing taxes and restrictions that fueled resentment among the colonists. This growing discontent ignited the flames of rebellion. In 1775, the American Revolution erupted, pitting the colonists against the mighty British Empire. Led by George Washington, the Continental Army faced formidable odds, yet driven by a fierce belief in liberty, they fought valiantly for their independence. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress made a bold declaration. The 13 colonies were no longer subject to British rule. The Declaration of Independence, penned by Thomas Jefferson, proclaimed the inherent rights of man and the right of the colonies to govern themselves. The Revolutionary War raged for 8 long years, testing the resolve of the fledgling nation. Finally, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris recognized American independence, marking a turning point in world history. The United States, once a collection of colonies, had emerged as a beacon of freedom and self-determination. The newly formed United States faced the daunting task of building a nation from scratch. The Founding Fathers, guided by principles of democracy and individual liberty, drafted the Constitution in 1787. This document, ratified in 1789, established the framework for a new form of government, one based on the consent of the governed. George Washington, a hero of the Revolution, became the first president, setting precedents for future leaders. The nation embarked on a period of westward expansion, driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States had a divine right to expand across the continent. This expansion, however, came at a cost. The forced removal of Native Americans from their ancestral lands cast a dark shadow over the nation's growth. Moreover, the issue of slavery, deeply entrenched in the Southern economy, continued to divide the nation. The United States, born from revolution, continued to grapple with internal conflicts. The question of slavery, in particular, threatened to tear the nation apart. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the very fabric of the Union. The issue of slavery continued to fester, dividing the nation along geographical and ideological lines. The abolitionist movement gained momentum, condemning slavery as a moral abomination. Southern states, however, clung fiercely to the institution, arguing for states' rights and economic necessity. In 1860, the election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery, proved to be a turning point. Southern states, fearing the loss of their way of life, seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The American Civil War had begun. The Civil War was a brutal conflict, pitting brother against brother, father against son. Battles raged across the nation from Gettysburg to Vicksburg, as both sides fought for their vision of America. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, issued in 1863, declared the freedom of slaves in Confederate territories, adding a moral dimension to the war. After 4 years of bloodshed, the Union prevailed, preserving the nation and ending slavery. The cost of victory was immense, with over 600,000 soldiers dead. The nation faced the daunting task of reconstruction, rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved people into society. Section 5. The Rise of Industry. Following the Civil War, the United States underwent a period of rapid industrialization and economic growth. The late 19th century saw the rise of industrial giants like Andrew Carnegie in steel and John D. Rockefeller in oil, transforming the nation into an economic powerhouse. Railroads connected the vast country, facilitating trade and communication. This period also saw a surge in immigration, as people from all over the world flocked to the United States in search of a better life. Cities swelled with new arrivals, creating vibrant centers of industry and culture. However, this rapid growth also led to social problems, including poverty, inequality, and labor unrest. The Progressive Era, spanning the late 19th and early 20th centuries, aimed to address these issues. Progressive reformers fought for social justice, advocating for workers' rights, women's suffrage, and government regulation of big business. Leaders like Theodore Roosevelt embraced progressive ideals, pushing for conservation efforts and breaking up monopolies. The United States had become a global industrial power, but its rapid growth came at a price. Social inequality, labor exploitation, and environmental degradation became pressing concerns. The nation faced the challenge of balancing its economic progress with the well-being of its people and the environment. Section 6. Depression and World War. The Roaring Twenties, a decade of economic prosperity and cultural dynamism, came to a crashing halt with the stock market crash of 1929. The Great Depression, the worst economic downturn in modern history, gripped the nation, leaving millions unemployed and destitute. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal programs provided relief, recovery, and reform, aiming to alleviate the suffering and prevent future economic disasters. The New Deal fundamentally reshaped the role of government in American life, expanding its reach into social welfare and economic regulation. As the Great Depression raged, a new threat emerged abroad: fascism. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 plunged the world into chaos. The United States, after initial hesitation, joined the Allied cause in 1941 following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. American industry mobilized for war production, and American soldiers fought valiantly on battlefields across Europe and the Pacific. The United States played a pivotal role in the Allied victory, emerging from the war as a global superpower. The war also had profound domestic impacts, leading to social changes, including increased opportunities for women and minorities. Section 7. The Fight for Equality. The post-World War II era witnessed an economic boom, but it also exposed the deep racial divisions that still plagued American society. The Civil Rights Movement, led by courageous figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, challenged segregation and discrimination. Through peaceful protests, sit-ins, and marches, the movement demanded equal rights for all Americans, regardless of race. Landmark legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, outlawed discrimination and removed barriers to voting for African Americans. The Civil Rights Movement was a pivotal chapter in American history, marking a significant step towards fulfilling the promise of equality for all citizens. However, the struggle for racial justice continues, as systemic racism and inequality persist in various forms. The Civil Rights Movement inspired other movements for social justice, including the Women's Rights Movement, the LGBTQ+ rights movement, and the environmental movement. These movements sought to address various forms of inequality and injustice, reflecting the ongoing evolution of American society. Section 8. A Nation in Transition. The latter half of the 20th century and the early 21st century witnessed profound changes in American society. The Cold War with the Soviet Union shaped global politics for decades, leading to proxy wars, a nuclear arms race, and constant ideological conflict. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of a new era. The United States emerged as the sole superpower, facing new challenges in a rapidly changing world. Globalization, technological advancements, and demographic shifts transformed the economic and social landscape. The rise of the internet and digital technologies revolutionized communication, commerce, and access to information. The nation grappled with issues such as economic inequality, climate change, healthcare, immigration, and political polarization. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, shook the nation to its core, leading to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and a heightened focus on national security. The United States, once a young nation striving for independence, had become a global power facing complex challenges. Its history, marked by both triumphs and tragedies, continued to shape its identity and influence its role in the world. Section 9. The American Legacy. The story of the United States is one of constant evolution, a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people. From its humble beginnings as a collection of colonies to its status as a global superpower, the nation has continuously grappled with its ideals and its shortcomings. The American experiment, founded on principles of liberty, equality, and self-government, continues to unfold. Its legacy is one of innovation, progress, and a commitment to human rights, even as it confronts its own internal divisions and external challenges. The journey of the United States is far from over. Its future will be shaped by the choices its people make, the challenges it overcomes, and its unwavering pursuit of a more perfect union. The story of America is a story that continues to be written, a story of hope, struggle, and the enduring belief in the power of human potential. The United States, a nation forged from revolution, built by immigrants and shaped by its history, stands at a crossroads. Its past offers valuable lessons, its present demands critical reflection, and its future holds both promise and uncertainty. The American story, a tapestry woven from countless threads, is a story that belongs to all of us,